So welcome to the Node.js build working group meeting for March 12th, 2024. We will follow our standard approach of going through the things that were in the agenda item that was created. That was agenda item or issue 34646. Before we get started, is any announcements people would like to share? Okay, if not, the first thing tagged on the issue was Nearform can no longer host machines, number 3615. I think that may actually be covered under a couple of other issues now, but they're not necessarily on the agenda. New machine replacement requirement for Equinix servers, is that one of them?
No, the Equinix is separate from the Nearform discussion.
Right, okay, yes. Let me just see, there's a couple issues then for...
But yeah, I think there was an issue open. I don't have the number to hand for the Macs specifically.
Yeah, I'm looking for that one.
But I
OSX. Oh, replacement for Nearform Mac machines, right? There's this one is number 3638.
can't
And
remember if we've
then
got a separate issue for the benchmark machines. Those are the two main ones at Nearform. I think we decided that we were not going to pursue replacing the Windows and ARM machines at Nearform because we felt, or Stefan felt, that the Azure machines should be enough to cover
yeah,
that use case.
I think there's some talk about whether they were supposed to be, whether they were loan machines and had to be returned as well. Do you know if that's the case? I suspect not at this point because we've had them
Yeah,
for
I
a
don't
while,
know.
and so they probably don't want them
Yeah.
back. It would be my guess, but I don't know if that's actually been
I've got a feeling it may have been James or Matteo that was involved in getting them to Nearform.
right.
But I can't remember on what agreement or how they were actually financed. So
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
it
I guess we're still
possible
waiting for a proposal from the Linux IT team on the
on the benchmarking machines, or for both.
well, the OSX ones, I think the proposal was to expand at Max Stadium, but we've confirmed through email that we can't do that for free. So I guess on that one, I'd still be waiting for them to propose a way forward, whether it was, it was suggested we could get a discounted rate for some extra Orca capacity M1, whether the foundation could fund that or, I don't know what else. We try and find another poster for those machines or whatever.
So I think the important date or dates is that Nearform didn't really want us to go beyond like the beginning of April, I think, in terms of having those machines around in their wherever they're being hosted. So there's two things. There's one is the machines are going away, and then the other bit is replacements or migrations.
Yeah.
For the Macs, I don't think it's critical for the project if the machines disappeared. It'd be inconvenient, but I think we do have everything that's currently running at Nearform we have covered at Max Stadium. I think we always tried to have that because we always understood that Nearform were doing it on a best effort basis and not, they weren't all expected to be up 24/7. So while it would reduce the capacity and, put us back to a single point of failure if anything happened to those machines, if in the worst case, the machines just disappeared and we didn't have the replacements lined up, the existing machines that would be left at Max Stadium probably ought to be able to cover the workloads that we're running on the CI. So, it wouldn't be critical to the project. It would be inconvenient. The benchmark machines are the ones that we don't have any replacements for. So, if they were all to disappear when those machines are no longer available, we don't have anywhere to move them to at the moment. So I know there's been some progress there's been discussions around the Macs. I think probably the benchmark machines are the more pressing in terms of we don't actually have anywhere to migrate those workloads to. So if we don't have a replacement and those disappear, we don't really have the ability to run the benchmark CIs anywhere.
So in terms of the Mac machines, I presume the Nearform ones are still online at the moment in Jenkins. Is that correct?
Everything's online at the moment.
So it may be
Um,
worth switching that off and just seeing if we have run into any capacity issues with the, the PR tests and that sort of thing. Just to understand that.
uh, yeah, it's always possible, I guess.
I suspect we'll be okay, but if we're eventually going to lose them, it kind of seems to make sense to prototype losing them just now and see how we get on.
Okay. Does this sound reasonable to you, Michael?
Sorry, what was that?
I was proposing marking the Nearform Mac machines offline just to make sure that we do have adequate capacity for all the CI runs.
Yeah, that doesn't seem unreasonable. Like,
It's just for a capacity test to make sure that we're definitely not relying on those at the moment.
I don't know quite what we'll do different. Like, we can't necessarily get them back, but
But
if
this
we're
is
going
just
to
marking
survive,
offline in general.
maybe we can start surviving now. So yeah, it doesn't seem unreasonable. So is the beginning of April we thought was the end date?
I thought that was what we were working towards.
Okay, so gonna send, I searched and found a thread that included the TSC and the two Linux IT people. I think I might add Robin, and then I'll add Stewart as well. Somebody active in the discussion. Basically just saying we discussed the build meeting today, and with only 2 or 3 weeks left, this is becoming urgent. I think we're still waiting for an issue with the proposed way forward and are wondering if replacements will be available by the end of this month. Is that a reasonable
Yeah, I think so.
reflection of where we're at?
Yeah.
I think, didn't
I
we
think
in
for
the
both.
discussion
Yeah.
with the other day that we confirmed what machine types we would want?
I can't remember. Maybe. I think Matteo waded in with some ideas on what the
Right.
machine should be. Yeah.
Right. So what is there? The minimum requirements essential for the performance team. Says I put a 32 gig minimum of RAM and an SSD with 256 gig. Ideal RAID subs so the data is not lost. As far as speed goes, anything released in the last few years will suffice. I would keep them Intel or AMD. Okay. And then that seems to have answered the question they asked immediately afterwards. Think. I'll re-add what he had there. That's not what I want to do. Oh. Stupid mail. It's like pasted in the whole reply, but it doesn't let me delete it. No, quite. I'm supposed to get rid of that. Okay. Did it actually send it? I think it may have already sent it.
I've just got an email from you, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, it sent it
Okay.
instead of. I just did a paste and it's like somehow that actually sent the email.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's truncated. Yeah, it has not complete. Oh well.
So 256 gig or higher SSD, 32 gig of RAM. The only thing it doesn't say, it says anything released probably it should have at least, I mean, I don't know, 8 CPUs, unreasonable.
I don't know.
Okay, I'm just gonna pick a number.
Yeah.
That's not that big these days. Like, I guess, Richard, if we moved it onto that side, the V8 builds onto that size of machine, are they going to run in a reasonable enough amount of time?
Depends what you mean by reasonable. I mean, they will run on any. I think the major capping point for the V8 build is memory. More processors will speed it up a bit. But I mean, we're talking about going from, I can't remember how many CPU threads the benchmarking machines had. It was more than 8, wasn't it? It was much more than that.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was quite a lot more.
100 odd or somewhere in that region. So whatever we do is probably going to be a reduction in build time. Sorry, an increase in build times.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of the V8 build maybe secondary to the.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to pick something that's workable, even if it's not quite as good.
It's hard to speculate without having a test machine to run a test build on to measure what it does. I
Well,
know
if we move them on to something, I mean, you said they'd probably run on some of our existing machines. What would those existing ones be like?
well the existing machines that I have run something equivalent to the V8 builds on has been the
Do you
sort
know
of
how on
four
power?
core sorry?
Do you know how we run the V8 tests on power too, right?
Yes.
Pat, do you know how big those are?
I think they were four core.
Okay, so
4 or 8,
like,
I can't remember.
like an 8 core should probably be
Yeah.
We
at
should
least
also
equivalent to that.
we should also
Was
bear in
that?
mind that we're getting new machines, then they're going to be much faster cores than we had previously, because those
Yeah,
performance
that's correct.
quite a few years old now. So
Okay, so I'll pick 8 as a number.
yeah,
And is 256 gig really big enough for the
Disk
disk?
space.
I would have thought,
It should be because we're only looking at running two builds on the machines, like a V8 build and then a benchmarking build.
I mean, I
Okay.
guess
And
we can look at the
I
existing
don't
one.
think Node is that much bigger than like full. Well, normally it's around 2 to 3 gig. I think
Yeah.
in the worst case, I've seen them up to 30 or 40 gig. But even if they were 30 or 40 gig, we can comfortably fit several
Yeah.
Node
Okay.
builds into 256 gig. And even I don't think the iOS would be taking more than half of that. So I imagine that should be enough.
I mean, I guess we
Okay.
can have a look at workspaces on the existing machines and just see what's there and whether any of it is rubbish that can be deleted, and to get an idea of what size it should be. But yeah, I would imagine 236 would be fine.
Yeah,
It's just doing a sanity test, so
I think we used to run uh, we used to collate numbers and publish a benchmarking website, and that's I think where we had disk storage.
yeah. Right.
That was the main ask for the storage, but because we turned that all off a long time ago, so we're no longer storing historical performance data on the machines. Because we used to store them and passing them across to another machine, which is one of the machines that's going away in one of the other issues we've got later in the agenda. Yeah, I don't think we have storage requirements outside of the storage required to run the particular Jenkins CI runs. I don't think we've got an ask at the moment to do anything in terms of keeping, historical data around on the machine.
Okay, so we'll assume I sent the email.
Yep, got it.
Yep.
Basically, I don't know what else we can do at this point.
No, I mean, yeah, that's all we can do to try and keep the thread going and see what happens. If we can
Yep.
get anything done
Assumption
before
is
we're
still
out
that
runway.
the Linux IT team is going to help replace those. So
Okay.
hopefully.
Yeah.
The next issue 3597, so replacement for Equinix x64 servers. We did have a meeting not too long ago. Good thing is Brian's confirmed that MNX will provide replacements for all the machines that are going away. So that's great news.
Okay. Did he say
That
do
is
them
great
at
news.
the sizes that we discussed? Oh.
What was that?
Did he say did they agree to do it at these capacities we discussed? So the same capacity as the existing machines?
Yes.
Sizes. Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, I think we shared what it was there, and he was like,
He was happy with that.
sounds
Okay.
like he just said yes, so that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
So I believe the Linux Foundation are getting themselves onboarded so they can provision machines, and then they were going to let us know when they had the ability to do that. So and then help do the migration. So I believe that's progressing, but we obviously just need to keep an eye on making sure we don't drift to the end of the month. Although in this case for Equinix, I think Ed said, use that as a guideline. They're not going to boot us off without us having the migration in place, but
Yeah.
also don't dawdle on it. Try and get off as soon as possible. So
Right, and I think in our discussion, the Linux IT team promised to like basically open an issue with the details of the plan and target date. So we'll get some heads up as to when those machines will be coming, hopefully. I assume quite a few of those, Richard, were the SmartOS machines, were they?
well, all of the SmartOS machines were in that set, but there were
Right.
lots of other things on there that were outside, beyond that. So there were some infrastructure machines in that set, which
Just
are
thinking that
probably
Brian might hopefully
yeah.
be the one who has to, help re-ansible the SmartOS ones, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that was part of the main reason that MNX was so keen to help
Sure. Yep.
migrate those machines, because they included the SmartOS.
Yep. Okay, anything else we should chat about on that one?
No, I mean, I do think that we are going to need to, the build group is going to need to help migrate those, especially the Jenkins workspace machine that has the Git repo for the temporary binary repositories. So
Yep.
when we migrate that, we'll also need to update a whole bunch of things in Jenkins that sort of point to a particular IP address where they're currently doing. So I don't think it's anything ridiculously hard, but it's requires someone to go in and change and tweak all the settings so that pointed to the new server rather than the old one. But
We might want to make it a DNS entry if we're have to update all sorts of places.
Maybe.
Just for next time, right? Like if we're already updating them, maybe throw in a DNS entry so that like we can just update that in Cloudflare next time.
Okay, that's not worth doing.
Anyway, just a thought.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
there's also SSH. No, is that true? I think we might. No, maybe not if it's Git. Anyway, yes. Okay, yeah, I'll consider that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was sort of mentioning, if the Linux IT doesn't do like all the Ansibling and stuff, I was thinking Brian might hopefully be involved in doing the SmartOS ones, and yeah, but I understand all the other ones will still need to probably likely help with. The next one, IBM closing DAL 5, SJ01, WC01, the 4th of April, which isn't that far off. So
we've skipped over the R2 one, but to be honest, I don't
oh,
actually
sorry,
know.
yeah, okay.
I don't know what the status of that is. So yeah, I'm willing to move to the IBM one.
I was just saying no update on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, the IBM one?
The IBM one, I am going to look at that hopefully this week or next week, and just look at and move the machines. So the data center is going away next month, and we have a small number of machines on there, and I'll move them somewhere else in IBM Cloud.
Okay. Now, I think you'd already looked at it before, right? In terms of
there's a list of the machines in the issue, and I don't think anything was critical, but again, it's kind of like we would like the capacity. So
how many were there? Do you know roughly?
I think it was 5.
Yeah. Okay.
Where are we?
I'm just opening the issue, taking a quick look. I opened the wrong issue.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there were 5 machines, of which one can definitely go. So we probably migrate 4 machines.
Yep.
I guess the release one, release IBM Rel 8.
The release one is not that important because I actually have two. We have 2 other release.
Okay. Yep.
We ended up with 3 Rel 8 x64 release machines because I wasn't originally sure that we could have a DigitalOcean hosted one, but we can. So we ended up having 1 at DigitalOcean and 2 at IBM. So even if we were down to 1 at DigitalOcean and 1 at IBM, that would be more release machines than we have for some of the other architectures and platforms. So I will migrate this 3rd machine, but it's not critical if it doesn't, if it doesn't happen before they go away, or if it happens slightly after, or if we repurpose it for something else. But yeah, I will migrate those machines. The one that I'm not going to migrate is the benchmark data machine because we've not been using it.
Right. Okay. I was going to say that one doesn't look like it's. But do we still test on 1404? Or are you just gonna like
no? I'm going to migrate the machine. Well, not migrate the machine. I'm going to set up a new machine in, a data center that's not moving, and make that either Ubuntu 20 or 2004. Sorry, either 2004 or 2204. I'll have a look at what we've currently got and sort of add an extra thing in. And the same with CentOS 7 and Ubuntu 18. Those will move across, but will probably be moved across, but at a later, more recent OS.
Okay.
One thing to bear in mind is you've got Ubuntu 2404 coming out next month, so we may want to bump that up as soon as it becomes available if we're replacing an older machine.
So I'll look at our capacity for 2204, and if that looks reasonable, then we might keep that around, a new machine around for 2404.
Yeah.
Okay. So so basically you'll take a look at it, mostly moving them over, but with different OS levels.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Totally makes sense.
I had looked at it before, and nothing there is. If everything there went away, it's not critical to the project. But yeah, we would like to have the capacity, maintain capacity. So I will migrate those, but they're not as, they're not as high priority as the sort of like the near form benchmarking machines that we discussed earlier.
Okay, the infrastructure for Mac OS 13.x. I don't know if there's any updates or anybody knows anything on that front.
No, I've mainly been letting Ulysses handle that and plan for it.
Yeah.
And there was a plan in there which I think most people said we're okay with, and I just don't know if he's maybe not had the time to work on that, or if that's somehow tied up with the extra resources being asked for at Mac Stadium. I do know that I do know he had some issues accessing machines, but I can't remember if that was in the context of setting up new ones or getting access to existing ones. Something to do with like the firewall or the VPN around that and stuff. But I think that's all been sorted, or at least I don't know. I've been seeing the support notifications going through to the build alias, so things I think are happening.
Interest in establishing a build helper role.
I don't think anything's progressed on there. We did discuss there were some cleanup scripts for macOS that Ulysses had to clean up like the disk space, and then reboot the machines, and hopefully that would so the Macs seem to be the disk space sort of disappears over time until you reboot the machine. And then there was also a cleanup script that helps sort of free up some of the temporary cache and storage stuff that accumulates. I think the script needed some fix-ups due to like the user it was being run as. But I think that was a candidate for a thing that could be added to AWX and then perhaps opened up for other people to run as needed, because it seems that this is an ongoing. The Macs need to have this regular maintenance done to them, otherwise they do run out of disk space, which is unfortunate. But yeah, other than that, I don't think anything else has been done. So I think the first step on that was to get the scripts into a state where they could be run just through Ansible, so that if they could be run through Ansible, then the next step then would be to add them to the AWX instance.
Okay. And then the last one on the agenda is Cloudflare Access for Node.js Web Infra.
That was all. The working group decided that we wanted to pursue the Terraform solution. So I know Ulysses got a new repository set up in the private repo to put the Terraform configuration.
Right.
So I think that is, yeah, I think that's
still
just been
underway.
yeah, it's underway. I think it's fallen behind like the Mac migration and other work. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a request for a private repo, and I believe that was created. I think Moshe created that. So I think it exists. I just can't remember if it's been populated. But yeah, that's with Ulysses.
Okay, that was everything that was on the agenda. Anything else? There's one thing, maybe if we could stick around for a little bit of a private section, but like anything else, any other issues or topics that we should chat about in the public session?
No, nothing from me.
Okay, well, thanks for anybody who's been watching on the live stream, and